carrying this narrative, having compelling grounds for the removal of the judges. And if they don't have the compelling grounds for the removal of the entire bench of the Supreme Court, the question therefore is this a political move? And most likely, I can tell you without a doubt, Maringa, that you remember when Maraga was the Chief Justice.
Yes. Some
of these disputants praised Maraga up to the point when Maraga nullified the 2017 elections. After the nullification of the 2017 elections, Maraga became incompetent. And the narrative of Maraga being the most incompetent CJ in this country reigned until when Maraga left office. When, as my colleague has said, when the entire Supreme Court made the decision to uphold the 2022 elections, we heard how, everybody came out and say, we must protect judicial independence. Maringa, the point is this, that the nature of the work of the Supreme Court is such that the Supreme Court cannot be, everybody cannot love the Supreme Court. You remember the 2017 uproar after the nullification of the presidential election. One group of the political class was here telling us this is a group of Wakora. They called the judiciary Wakora Network. In 2022, when the Supreme Court upheld the decision, of the presidential elections, the very same people came out and told us we must protect judicial independence. Judiciary is the only arm that has remained in protecting our right as a people. Today, we are being told that 3 years or so, 4 years down the line of the CJ as being the CJ, the entire Supreme Court and the bench needs to go. And my problem is this. My problem is that when you look at the grievances of all the petitions that have been raised, none of those petitions raises a question on the conduct of the judges. They simply question the merit of their decisions. And that is where the problem begins.
And I think, you talk about merit, by the way, and then the independence of the judge. What is independence? Independence means you are working within the principles of law, legal principles when it comes to interpreting what is law and what is fair in the way in which the facts have been brought to you. And you could be unfair, by the way, if somebody else, some priest was sitting somewhere and judging how you are deciding the case. But according to the facts brought before you, are you fair? Fair means, are you giving each person the right to address you? Are you giving everyone sufficient time to address you? So, but you asked a question, Maringa, and we should not lose sight of that. Is this politically instigated or otherwise? To be honest, I think it is hate campaign. Even before we go to politically instigated, it's just hate campaign. Somebody tells you, you cannot come and address us in this court. And I believe that is one of the worst decisions the Supreme Court can ever make, to stop an advocate from appearing before it, because that is why we are sworn in. We are sworn into practice. I think one judge or two can recuse themselves, can say, I cannot hear you, because for some reason, and you have to state the reasons, because one of the duties of a judge is to sit. When you agree to be, appointed as a judge, you must sit. Once the JSC has nominated you to the president and president, appoints you as a judge, you must sit. It is the duty you have. So in this particular, scenario, I think it is more of hate. And this is about professional jealous, I don't know whether I call it technical hate. Someone just dislikes you, and they become so much enraged. In Kisi, there is this frog, you call it Ogoto. Ogoto is just something that in a vimba too, and then you feel so awkward about a person, and you use English and semantics now to describe that person. It is not true that all the judges are incompetent. Let's be honest. These are brilliant minds that we have praised for the longest time. When they were deciding the BBI, you did not call them incompetent. When they decided the 2022 general elections, you did not call them incompetent. Then they make a blunder. And this is, we call it judicial error. They have not judiciously treated Amin Nasir, for example. They have simply told him, we cannot hear you. They've in fact written a note. They did not even subject him to address them. So I think that is extremely wrong. But it is not the ground to say that the whole judiciary is therefore incompetent. And again, you will find that most of our colleagues who are arguing high voltage cases in the Supreme Court, they have their own personal interest, Maringa. I mean, we have to, I wish for the sake of the upcoming lawyers, we need to distinguish between losing a case where revenue is concerned and determining that that judge who was hearing you is incompetent. I mean,